Sports.
It is, as you can see, a beautiful September Saturday here in Milwaukee as the Reds, who were shut down by Kyle Loesch last night, try to bounce back tonight and get even in this series. The Reds and the Brewers on Fox Sports Ohio. And I had a pleasant good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Reds Baseball. Jim Kelch along with Chris Welsh. This is the middle game of this three-game series, and for whatever reason, the Reds have not been playing well up there in Milwaukee as of late, having lost 5 of the last 7 against this Milwaukee ball club. But today, Chris Welsh, it is Homer Bailey, who has pitched very well as of late against Milwaukee, being sent to the mound by Dusty Baker.
Well, you're right. His 2 previous starts against the Brewers happened in August, and they were back-to-back starts, meaning only 5 days separated the 2. And Homer Bailey, for the most part, pitched very well. 14 innings overall, good earned run average. He has struck out 13 over that span. So maybe Homer Bailey, who was asked to be the stopper today, will be able to step it up and be the stopper just like the Reds need.
Homer has won his last 5 decisions, and that is a career best for him. Meanwhile, on the mound, young man Johnny Hellwig.
Well, this young man's had one heck of a year, man, in the minor leagues. He's Pacific Coast Player of the Year. He's a big, hard-throwing right-hander. 6 feet 9 inches tall, and the Brewers really are excited about him because he throws anywhere from 95 to 100 miles an hour. The problem is he's not always sure of the zip code of that fastball of his, so maybe the Reds will have a little patience today and be able to make sure that Johnny Hellwig throws the ball over the plate.
Well, the Reds lost ground yesterday. They start today 3.5 back in the National League Central Division, looking to gain that ground back here this afternoon. It is an afternoon game, day game, here in Milwaukee, a matinee here at Miller Park. Coming up next. Brought to you by the Ford F-Series trucks, the best-selling truck in America, 36 straight years. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. Yeah, it's lunchtime here in Milwaukee, and the brats are on the grill, and you cannot tell me that those don't look fantastic. Roof open for the second consecutive day here in Milwaukee at Miller Park. And yes, we knew the missing ingredient from last night. The Reds fell in the contest 5-1, and we have rectified that situation today, Chris Welsh, with your enthusiastic pumping up of this crowd here at Miller Park to get them engaged in this game.
I had no idea you were recording this.
Now, were you asking someone for nachos?
Well, actually,
what were you doing?
I couldn't get the fans below me to distract themselves from their nachos and actually get into my chant in support of the Reds and Dusty Baker. Dusty, as you can tell, is awfully fired up, too, about this ball game starting at noontime today in Milwaukee. A little bit of an early start. And originally this was supposed to be a nationally televised game, and then they decided at the last minute not to put it on Fox. Instead, the local broadcasters were able to do it, and Fox Ohio picked it up because it's a very important game in the Red schedule.
Let's take a look at Dusty's lineup to get things going here this afternoon. He will have Chu, Phillips, and Votto, the top three. Bruce, Ludwig, Frazier in the middle. Cozart, Hannigan, and Bailey against this 24-year-old right-hander Johnny Hellwig, whom the Reds have seen one time earlier this year.
Well, he was really wild that one time, and he's been really wild overall. Look at the number of walks that he has in the innings pitched. He's 16 walks and 16 innings pitched. And so, you know, if that is any indication of what your strategy ought to be, it ought to be loud and clear. Make sure the guy throws the ball over the plate. Obviously, he's got tremendous stuff, and the Brewers are very anxious to see what he can do at the big league level. They feel that down the road he will be a really big-time major league pitcher, but his control is certainly lacking, and that's the one thing that you've got to be aware of when you get into the batter's box.
Well, he was the other part of that deal with the Angels when Zach Greinke went from Milwaukee to the Angels. Gene Segura came over, as did this 6'9", 205-pound right-hander Johnny Hellwig. And as you mentioned, he was the Pacific Coast League Pitcher of the Year, but his walks down there weren't much better. 81 walks, 125 innings.
And that average is almost 6 walks per 9 innings. So when you have a guy that wild, I mean, he can be effectively wild, will not give up a lot of hits, but he can also put you on base if you have a nice, tidy idea of the strike zone.
He's ready to go. So is Chu to lead it off. First pitch of the game misses high, and we are underway from Miller Park here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on this Saturday, September the 14th. Picture perfect day for outdoor activity. Chu comes in at 287 with 20 home runs. He's driven in 48. He did not reach base last night, which is significant in the fact that ended his 18-game on-base streak. He went 0 for 4. Game time temperature here in Milwaukee, 67 degrees. I don't know that we did get much above 60 at all yesterday. A little bit warmer day today, but it's going to dip down again tomorrow. Wrap up of this series will come as a 2:10 game Cincinnati time tomorrow afternoon. This turns out to be, with a loss last night and that Cardinal 10-inning win, just a huge game again for Dusty's Reds.
Well, not only that, but it also breathes some life into the Washington Nationals, who are now 4.5 games back of the Reds in the wild card, and they're on some kind of a roll. They feel like they can really make a difference if they really put a push on. So all of a sudden it becomes a whole lot more interesting from the teams that are ahead of you and the one team that is chasing the Reds right now.
We've heard Dusty Baker say many times, I don't like to look behind, look ahead. Well, in order to not look behind, you simply have to put the W's on the board, and that's what the Reds will try to do today against this Milwaukee team.
Early indications, you can see the run on Hellwig's fastball. He's got a very low arm angle for a guy that's 6 feet 9 inches. He doesn't use a great downward plane, but he's got a lot of run, and that's one reason why he has a hard time keeping the ball in the zone.
Chu hits it down the left field line. That is a fair ball and into the corner. Chris Davis, who's back in the lineup today out in left field, will get that ball back in. It's a double for Chu and a good start for the Reds here in the top of the first.
Yeah, that's about the only place you're going to be able to hit the ball when Hellwig gets it where he wants to in the zone, which is mostly down and away. Look where all the pitches are away, and he gets that ball really about thigh high, but running away from Chu, and he just rifles it right down the left field line.
33rd double of the year for Chu. He set a career high last year when he had 43 for the Indians. He's out at second base for Brandon Phillips. Brandon a hit last night, 1 for 4, but his average has dipped down to 262. He wants to bunt and does. First base side, that's going to be fielded by Betancourt, and they're going to, Phillips is going the other way. Now they'll have to put a tag on. There it is. That's a sacrifice bunt for Brandon Phillips. Betancourt was not going to turn and throw unless he absolutely had to. Brandon accommodated.
You know, and Brandon really didn't have to go back and tag himself out here. He realized he was running back to the dugout, had not yet been tagged. He finally said, okay, Betancourt, you tag me out. If you simply turn and run into the dugout, you abandon your intention to go to first base, and you can be called out by the umpire, although I didn't see anybody make the call.
No.
So Reds playing for something here early on.
Considering they picked up only the 1 run yesterday, didn't score other than in that last game against the Cubs very many runs as well. They try to do whatever they can to get on the board early in this one. 9th sacrifice of the year by Brandon Phillips. RBI chance for Votto. He's at a ball and a strike. Joey last night hitless, 0 for 4. Comes into this one at 304 with 22 homers. 66 runs batted in. Brewers have been by and large been able to keep Votto in check in terms of batting average. He comes into this game with only a .211 average against the Brewers this year. They've walked him 15 times. Now he's at 3-1. Bruce waits next. This is the only day game of the games that we are following of significance. The Pirates hosting the Cubs. That's a 7:05 Eastern time start tonight in Pittsburgh. Votto scorches this ball toward left center. On the move to get it is Gomez. Chu will tag and score. A double by Chu, a sac bunt by Phillips, a sac fly by Votto gives him his 67th RBI and the 1-0 Reds lead. Take a look at the Brewers defensively behind Johnny Helwig, brought to you by your local Ford dealers. Davis has missed 7 straight games, back in the lineup out and left today. Gomez and Aoki in the outfield. Bianchi at third base, Segura, Jeanette, and Betancourt on the infield. A battery of Maldonado and Johnny Helwig. So Jeff Bianchi gets to start over at third base with Aramis Ramirez getting hit on the left wrist early in the game last night, not starting today. Betancourt getting the start at first base today in place of Sean Halton, who started there last night. Cardinals will play later tonight. That's a 7:15 Eastern time start in St. Louis. They'll host Seattle. They won that game in the bottom of the 10th inning last night on a pass ball by Mike Zunino. We were talking about Zunino hitting the home run earlier in that game. It was his pass ball that allowed Pete Kozma to score, giving the Cardinals a come from behind 2-1 win last night. Nationals, they also play tonight at 7:05. Gio Gonzalez against Cole Hamels and the Phillies. Bruce walked in the 9th inning last night, snapping a streak of 23 in a row, retired by Kyle Loesch. Ludwig grounded out to end the game. Brewers won last evening 5-1. Jay comes in at 264. 29 long ones, 93 runs batted in. So Bruce 1 home run away from his 3rd consecutive 30-plus home run season. He has a good chance to break his personal high. It was 34 last year, and here he is in the 3rd consecutive year trying to get into the 100 RBI club. He's never been there. 99 last year, 97 2 years ago. So he needs 7 with 14 games remaining. Ball 4 to Bruce, and so he draws the walk, and he's on with 2 out. This big right-hander, Johnny Helwig, out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, born in O'Fallon, Missouri, went to junior college down in Jacksonville, Florida, at Florida College before being drafted by the Angels back in 2008. Considered the number 3 prospect last year with the Angels, number 12 this year with the Brewers. He had a stretch, though, in the middle of the season down in Nashville where he was dominant down there.
Well, when he finds a strike zone, you can see that his stuff is very hard to pick up. I mean, anytime you have a pitcher who's 6 feet 9 inches tall, and if he gets good extension towards home plate, he's a lot closer to home plate than other pitchers are when they release it. Thereby, it gives the hitter, less time to react, harder to pick it up, and so on. But the problem with a pitcher this tall is mechanics. Once your mechanics get out of whack a little bit, when you're 6'9", that means a whole lot. 60 feet 6 inches away.
Line to right center. That's a hit for Ludwig. Bruce is going to keep on motoring around second. He will end up at third. First and third with 2 outs. So another rally here for the Reds in the first. They produced 1. Now they have a chance for more.
Yeah, the Reds trying to get a little 2-out lightning going right here. Sometimes when you lay a sacrifice bunt down to get a runner over to third base and then have a sacrifice fly, it pretty much kills the rally. You're going to be happy with the 1 run, but the Reds now have a walk and a first and third situation.
Well, let's see if Todd Frazier can come through.
Ought to be a good matchup for Frazier, really. Good fastball hitter. Helwig throws about 80% fastballs.
Todd starts today at 234, 15 homers, driven in 65, and he'll line it into right. That's a base hit. Another run will score. Bruce touches the plate. Down to second goes Ludwig. RBI number 66 for Todd Frazier, and a 2-0 Reds lead.
Guessing first pitch fastball, getting first pitch fastball. That really helps Todd Frazier. When you've got a batting average down to 230s, you've had your issues throughout the season. He just fires it right down Broadway, and Frazier's right there to greet him.
That puts him now only 1 RBI away from his total of a year ago. He had 67 last year, 66 now. Taking a look back at that July 10 game when the Reds were here in Milwaukee and Helwig started, they scored 1 in each of the first 3 innings against this big right-hander. He eventually left in the 5th inning, allowing 4 runs, 4 hits in 4 1/3. But he comes off, Chris, of by far his best big league outing last time out against the Cubs.
Yeah, that only was 6 innings long, and he was very excited about that. And it's where you have your bar of expectations, I think, and that's a big difference between these 2 ball clubs.
Broken bat roller. Bianchi will throw out Cozart, putting an end to the top of the first. But a good start for Dusty's Reds here this afternoon. 2 in the top of the first. As the Reds get 2 in the top of the first inning, and now he will put this lineup card out there this afternoon. Aoki, Segura, and Jeanette at the top. Chris Davis back in there in the cleanup spot. Gomez and Betancourt plays first base. Bianchi at third. Martin Maldonado catches Johnny Helwig, and on the mound, big right-hander Homer Bailey.
Homer Bailey trying to get that record over 500. Right now he's stuck at an even 10-10. The team, when he pitches, has won 15. They've lost 14. A lot of those games that he has lost and not have any decisions in have been due to the fact that he's not getting a lot of run support. After that no-hitter that he had, Bailey really struggled in the following 4 games, and one of those was against the Brewers. But in the last 5, last 8 games, he's been outstanding.
As we mentioned in the open, he's had 2 consecutive very nice starts against this Milwaukee club. One was a win for him. The other was a team loss, but he nonetheless still threw very well. In fact, in his last 5 games, 3-0 with a 153. And there's breaking it down even further, his last 3 starts for you.
You know, when Homer Bailey pitches the way he can, and Matt Latos pitches the way he does most of the time, it really gives the Reds 2 top-of-the-rotation starters. In fact, there are some that will say Bailey's stuff is actually better than Latos. He just still has battling a little problem of inconsistency, you know, throughout the entire season. Has hot streaks, has cold streaks.
Is that what I hear you always talking about when you say repeatability?
Well, his repeatability and his windup has gotten so much better over the last few years. That's helped him be a lot better.
Aoki in the dirt on that swing and miss, and he is going to be thrown out at first base. So it's a strikeout and a 2-3 putout. That's a rarity because Aoki rarely strikes out.
Well, he's facing a pitcher today, though, in Homer Bailey, that strikes out a batter every inning. And in this inning, it just might be Aoki. That's a curveball. And what we've seen really recently from Homer Bailey is more use of the curveball, more use of the split finger pitch, and a little bit less of the slider.
Well, he set a new career high last year in strikeouts with 168. He has blown by that this year. That was number 191. He gets Gene Segura. Aoki with that strikeout, a rarity I mentioned. 1 every 15.9 times up is all that he strikes out. Second best in the National League behind Marco Scudero of San Francisco. And now it's Segura at an even 300. Dozen home runs. He's driven in 46. A couple of hits last night, including a bunt hit. He is the National League leader in bunt hits, and the National League leader in stolen bases. High fly ball, deep left, but playable. Ludwig under it, makes the catch, 2 out. Take a look at the Reds' defensive alignment, brought to you by your local Ford dealers. Ludwig, Chu, and Bruce in the outfield. Frazier, Cozart, Phillips, Votto infield. A batter of Bailey and Ryan Hannigan. Homer's last start was against the Dodgers, a 3-2 Reds win. That was the Sunday night game. He allowed 2 runs in 7 innings. Has not lost a game since he lost in LA on the 26th of July. 5 wins over that time period, 3 no decisions. And the wins in his last 5 decisions, a career best for him. And he quickly gets ahead here thanks to the check swing of Jeanette. 0-2. 335 average for Scooter, 6 home runs, driven in 18. Jeanette in the game last night, 0 for 4, snapping a 6-game hitting streak. Down the third base line, Frazier will get to the ball, keep it on the infield, but Jeanette has himself an infield hit. Boy, that's an ugly swing right there.
It was a pretty unusual swing at least, but he's just trying to stay alive. I mean, Homer Bailey is dialing it up here at 95 miles an hour in a ballpark that during the day is not really all that easy to see the baseball. And that funny-looking, funky-looking fielding play by Todd Frazier down at the other end of the field may have saved an extra base hit. If that ball had gotten by Frazier, even if he just kicked it a little bit, chances are Jeanette's standing on second.
So he's a ball with 2 out for Chris Davis. Davis been out of the lineup the last 7 games with left wrist soreness, although he has taken batting practice each of the last 2 days. He's back in there. Boy, you had to figure he wanted to get in there against Cincinnati. He has absolutely killed the Reds since taking over in left.
I was talking to a scout last week about, some of the things that he's looking for, some of the things that he tries to turn over to his organization when he does a scouting report. One of those is I want to know who's got the bad hands, the bad wrists, because those are the guys you want to just pound inside with a hard fastball. And when you throw it as hard as Bailey, you can do that. Nothing is worse for a sore hand or wrist than having one right in on your knuckles.
We know that Chu battled through that this year, kept playing. You see those guys with the thumb guards that they wear a lot.
Yeah, sometimes those are little bone bruises that you get. They're so painful as a hitter, but they never go away until the offseason.
There's that big Chris Davis cut we've become accustomed to seeing. He and Carlos Gomez, the man on deck. That's the don't get cheated swing right there. Davis against the Reds 10 out of 21 with 4 homers and 9 RBIs. Pretty good production. Last night it was Logan Schaefer out there. Davis back in there today. He's only 25 years old, former 7th round pick by the Brewers in 2009. He had 13 home runs at AAA this year, so add the 9 in his head here. He's at 22 in 2013. Pretty good year for him. Bailey off and now back on the rubber. Looking for the final out here in the bottom of the first. In the air, right center field by Davis. That ball is going to be caught by Bruce. And so Davis retired, and Bailey puts a 0 on the board here in the bottom of the first. Ballpark with half-price student tickets September the 23rd through the 25th, thanks to First Student. Cheer on the Reds as they take on the New York Mets. That's all part of that last homestand of the 2013 regular season. Enjoy up to 4 tickets at half price on select sections. For tickets and details, simply call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/student. 2-0 Reds. We go to inning number 2. Reds start the day 18 games over 500. Their high water mark is 20. So if they can get the win here today and then back that up with a win tomorrow afternoon, they'll go into Houston 20 above, equaling their best record of the year. Number 8 hitter Hannigan leads it off against this right-hander Johnny Hellwig. Ryan at .212 with a couple of homers, 21 runs batted in. Hannigan's last RBI was the big one. That was that Sunday night double into the left field corner against the Dodgers that scored Cozart, giving the Reds a 3-2 win and a sweep of that series against LA. Bianchi near the line, and he'll throw out the Reds catcher for out number 1. Batter will be Homer Bailey. That game that Hellwig threw against the Reds back on July the 10th here is matched up against Mike Leake. Leake went 8 1/3 in that game to pick up the win in a 6-2 Cincinnati victory. Mention how well Bailey has been pitching against Milwaukee the last 2 times out. Despite that, his career record against the Brewers only 2 wins, 7 losses, and now Bailey is hit by a pitch. He's hit by the pitch at 1-0, and he is aboard. I wonder if that's a first for him.
You know, you don't usually see pitchers hit by pitches unless you're in a kind of a beanball war, but you see the low arm angle, got him right on the left elbow. And you see the low arm angle from Johnny Hellwig, and that ball just goes really a lot of movement side to side.
Well, it is indeed the first time that Bailey has been hit by a pitch.
Also the first time in months that we have seen a pitcher need to put a jacket on when he runs the bases. That's a sign the fall is in the air.
So a runner aboard with 1 out, top of the order now, and Chu started the game with a double into the left field corner. Interesting today in the Reds clubhouse prior to the game, Dusty Baker's scheduled media meeting before the game was set to go off at 10 a.m. They pushed that back to 10:15, another 15 minutes or so. Chu launches this ball to straightaway center. Gomez back. He's running out of room. Home run! Shin-Soo Choo is 21st of the year. Launches at the straightaway center with Bailey aboard in front of him, and it is 4-0 Reds as Chu hits the 50 mark in runs batted in. We've seen Gomez rob some home run balls out there in this ballpark, but not going to anywhere near this one.
Well, Chu is off to a great start so far this afternoon. A double down the left field line. He gets another ball up around waist high on the outer part of the plate and just takes it right on out of here, way out of here, right out the front door.
Now Phillips thinks he is hit by the pitch. He kind of starts to walk toward first base. Angel Hernandez brings him back. 3rd home run given up by Hellwig at the big league level. And that now puts Chu within 1 of equaling a career best. He hit 22 in 2010. He has 21 this year. Phillips laid down a sacrifice bunt in the first, taking all the way. He's at 2-0. And now 3-0. Well, you break it down inning by inning with this big right-hander Johnny Helwig. Admittedly, in only 5 games and 4 starts at the big league level, a 6+ ERA in the first inning, a 19+ ERA in the second inning. Giving up 2 in each inning here so far. That one just out of the reach of Scooter Gennett. And Phillips is aboard. 5th Reds hit of this game.
Now, what's happening here is that the Reds are getting some of the breaks that the Brewers got last night. Mainly Carlos Gomez and his 3 base hits were all bloopers. And they did the Reds in. But today, if you look where all those pitches are, I mean, everything that Helwig throws has been up at the waist or above. And he's not a guy that really wants to survive up there. He's having a hard time getting the ball down around the knees. But that kind of run, he ought to aim it at the center of the plate, knee high, and let it go from there.
Drive to right field by Votto. Into the corner goes the right fielder, and he's going to get there to make the catch. Aoki. Boy, that ball had a lot of air under it and missed, leaving this park by about 3 or 4 feet. Joey's the second out of the inning. Aoki into the shadows in the right field corner to make that catch. So Phillips retreats to first. Votto is 0 for 1 with a sac fly, and the batter is Jay Bruce, who walked his first time. Off the glove of Maldonado, and down to second base goes Phillips. Gotta believe that's going to be a pass ball, and indeed it is. Interesting that you mentioned earlier that Johnny Helwig, despite being 6'9", doesn't really have as much downward plane as we see some of the other big tall right-handers that we have witnessed. Right at Segura. Bruce is gone and the inning is over. The Reds add on 2 more. 2-run homer by Chu, number 21 for the Reds center fielder, and it is 4-0 Reds. Let's focus in on Homer Bailey. You mentioned earlier, since the no-hitter.
Well, the first 4 starts since the no-hitter, and the Brewers were part of that. He was 0-4, earned run average way up there, and I don't know whether he had just got out of sync or whether that thought of the no-hitter, he couldn't erase it. but he got back down to business starting about his last 8 starts, in which he's 5-0, 2.4 in run average, and dealing.
And he'll get the first out here in the bottom of the second as Gomez flies to right for out number 1.
You know, and part of that 8-game streak for Homer Bailey, you know, this is what we're talking about, the last 9 starts actually. You know, he had 2 of those back-to-back against the Milwaukee Brewers. So anytime you go back-to-back against the same team, you have to make some adjustments, and he's done that. And what we've seen out of Bailey this year, he's throwing far more 2-seam fastballs than ever before. He's throwing far more split-finger pitches and more curveballs. And he's using fewer 4-seam fastballs and fewer sliders. So, you know, Bailey's got a big arsenal of stuff, of course, all anchored by the fact that he can throw mid to high 90s.
Interesting that he came into the league with a big curveball, went to the slider, now has gone more back to the curveball. Line to center, Chu retreating. Chu will get there, and the veteran Betancourt is retired. 2 balls in the air, 2 men out. That'll be the third baseman, Jeff Bianchi. So for Bailey, 5 consecutive quality starts, 8 of the last 10 quality starts, and again, no losses for Homer since the 26th of July, when he lost his 4th in a row to drop his record to 5-10. Comes into this game 10-10 after winning 13 a year ago. He could win out this one and his other 2 starts remaining in the regular season. He could end up with 13 for a second consecutive year. Bianchi, an early replacement last night for Aramis Ramirez, hit on the left wrist in the first inning. Pitch thrown by Matt Latos. Bianchi took over, and he's in there again today. And he gets ahead 3-0, making his 25th start at third base. Another position where they tried a lot of players, with Ramirez twice on the disabled list this year. Juan Francisco, Yuniesky Betancourt, Gonzalez, Bianchi. He walks on 5, and he's on with 2 out. Here's Martin Maldonado. Sub 200 hitter at 173 with 3 homers, 20 batted in, and only 1 for 18 this year against Reds pitching. Reds get 2 in the first, 2 more in the second. Leaders by a 4-0 score. We're talking about our meeting this morning, media-wise, with the manager of the Reds, Dusty Baker. Got pushed back 15 to 20 minutes. Door was closed. When it opened, out came the regular players of the Reds.
You mean the starting lineup?
The starting lineup, right. Had a meeting in there with Dusty. They came out laughing. Media got in there, and Dusty was, of course, asked about the meeting. And he said, just a talking to the boys, just a talking to. No specifics would he pass along, which of course isn't surprising.
Well, of course not, but I would imagine in a meeting like that, I mean, you can just guess what it was probably about, and I would also suggest that Dusty did the talking and the players did the listening. And I think it's just a matter of trying to remind these guys that this is an opportunity where you are right now in the standings that you've worked hard for all year long, and that you're in the home stretch, and you need to do things now that maybe you weren't asked to do earlier in the year, which is play a day game after a night game. Having a little bit more intensity in every at bat, not giving a game away early, making sure when you run the bases you run them smart, all the things that you should do all along, but sometimes you need a reminder. And you have a game like last night, which was kind of a, you know, it was kind of a lucky game in a way for the Brewers because they had blue pits, but it was also not a game in which the Reds did anything offensively. And I think Dusty just thought it was time to do something. He's not a guy that calls a lot of meetings, but based on what you've seen so far today, I don't know whether you give any credence to the fact that he had a meeting and now they've jumped out to a 4-0 lead, but hey, you'll take the 4-0 lead at any time.
Indeed. Check swing, appeal denied, and now a full count to Maldonado with a runner aboard and 2 out. But Homer's really got that number down in terms of batting average against right-handers. Lefty's hitting .270, but righty's only .203 against him. Taking off from first, Bianchi on that foul ball. Maldonado getting the start today, the early start, noon local time after the night game last night. Place of Jonathan Lucroy. Here's a swing and a miss on a 3-2 pitch. Maldonado strikes out. Number 2 for Bailey. The second inning comes to an end. By Elk and Elk. Serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Take a look at last night around Major League Baseball. A couple of interesting notes. Chris Davis, third player in Major League Baseball history with 50 homers and 40 doubles in a year. Babe Ruth and Albert Bell. First player to 50 home runs this year, by the way, Chris Davis. And how about Brian McCann? 29 years old, fourth catcher in big league history, 6th straight 20 home run seasons. Include Johnny Bench in that group.
Brian McCann set to be a free agent after the end of the season. Of course, I'm not sure what the Braves' plans are, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with McCann, perennially one of the best catchers in baseball.
4-0 Reds into the third. Ludwig, base hit into right center his first time, leads things off. He marks just over a month since his return. He was activated on the 12th of August after spending the first 4.5 months on the disabled list with a separated shoulder, requiring surgery. And that's going to fall for a base hit. How about Ludwig? He has, I believe, 4 or 5 multi-hit games this year against the Milwaukee Brewers. And he has another one here this afternoon.
Well, he's putting the bat on the ball very much like he did the first time up. But, you know, what's happening here is that Hellwig is providing the elevation, and all the Reds are doing is putting the bat on the ball. They're not getting great contact, although obviously Chu hit the heck out of that home run to center field. But for the most part, they're dropping balls in. If Hellwig were to throw that ball down around the knees, those are grounders. And it's kind of interesting, too. Even in the minor leagues, Hellwig, for as hard as he throws, and he's been timed at being able to throw the ball up to 99 and 100 miles an hour in the minor leagues, he does not get a lot of strikeouts, as many as you would think for a guy with that fast of a fastball. And that's mainly because he still rolls his breaking ball up there. But when you're the Pacific Coast League Player of the Year, I mean, you're obviously going to get plenty of chances to see where you fit in at the major league level. 24 years old.
Some of his numbers in the PCL very impressive, considering that league has always been known as a hitter's league, not so much a pitcher's league, because of the elevation of a lot of the cities. A 3.15 ERA out there with a dozen wins. Although pitching for Nashville, he only had a handful of games out west. Aoki going back, and he'll settle under this ball. Frazier retired, 1 out.
So if you're the Brewers and you're taking a look at Johnny Hellwig, he's 24 years old, you're thinking, all right, who's this guy remind us of? And you may say, well, at 6 feet 9 inches tall, he reminds you of a right-handed Randy Johnson. I mean, Johnson threw mid to high 90s. And it wasn't really until Johnson was 29 years old that he had a breakout year with the Seattle Mariners. That's the first year that he had 19 wins. Before that, he was always, 13 wins, 12 wins, and so on. Earned run average up around 3.5 to 4. But when he got to be age 29 and above, that's when he really started dealing. And that's when he started getting his mechanics down. And it's when he started getting that slider of his working, which eventually became his best pitch. Right now, Hellwig doesn't have that pitch.
To the right side and bobbled by Scooter Gennett. Cozart will reach. Down to second base goes Ludwig. That'll be an error on Scooter Gennett. 2 on with 1 out.
Well, Scooter's trying to get to this ball. He's trying to get the lead runner, even though he's got to go way to his right first. And as he turns, he just takes his eye off the baseball.
4th error by Gennett with the big league club this year. So 2 on with 1 out. Milwaukee, interesting enough, the worst defensive rating in the National League coming into this series, and that is their 105th error of the year, also the most in the National League. But listen to this interesting note. That is the first error committed in a Reds game by an opponent in 17 games. Reds have gone 16 straight games which their opponent did not make an error. Gennett will field this and step on the bag and throw on to first and get the double play. Hit into by Ryan Hannigan. So the inning comes to an end. 4-0 Reds, middle of the 3rd. Bat, celebrating 5 years as your #1 mobile app for live baseball. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, BlackBerry 10, and Windows Phone 8. At Bat delivers Reds baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, highlights, much more. Simply text At Bat to 31826 or visit Reds.com for all the details. Those Reds fans, as you can tell, ecstatic about the early Reds advantage of 4-0. As is that young lady. Bailey back to work. He gets the pitcher. Hellwig to lead it off. Hitless in 5 at-bats this year in the big leagues, though he did have 6 hits down at the AAA level. Three pitches, and he is disposed of for out number 1. Right now on FoxSportsOhio.com, Bearcats quarterback Munchie Legault underwent successful knee surgery yesterday. Bengals showcased a more diverse running game in Week 1 and followed the NL Central race in the Rival Watch section. FoxSportsOhio.com has complete coverage of all of today's action involving Ohio sports. Speaking of the Bearcats, they'll be in action tonight at home against Northwestern State. That game kicks off at 7 p.m. at Nippert Stadium. Bearcats trying to bounce back after a tough loss last week to Illinois. For you Cardinal and Wildcat fans, that game ongoing now in Lexington. Louisville has the lead in that game. Ohio State, they're in action tonight out in California against Cal. Lest we forget, Matt Sigafus's and Tom Brenneman's Ohio Bearcats. They'll be in action tonight against Marshall. And yes, Chris, we haven't forgot you. Your South Florida Bulls in action tonight against Florida Atlantic.
Oh, they're off to a tough start.
Bunt toward the mound. And Bailey, just in the nick of time, gets the runner at first, Aoki. So the Bearcats and the Bobcats in action tonight. Bearcats at home in Cincy, the Bobcats at home against Marshall.
I'll tell you, for a bunt that goes right back to the pitcher, Aoki makes this a pretty close play. Bailey comes in, fields it barehanded, and throws it right on the money to Joey Votto. Not much of a stretch by Votto towards the pitcher, but Aoki hits something as he crosses the bag and takes a tumble.
So 2 out as Bailey looks for his first 1, 2, 3 inning of this game. He gets Gene Segura.
He actually tripped over Joey Votto's foot. Fortunately, Votto's okay, and Aoki got up and walked away, no problem.
Joey has the pant bottoms up today, showing a lot of that red sock, as is Todd Frazier, as is Zach Cozart. Chu always does that.
Well, Chu's up and down on that, but this is the first time we've seen 4 of the 9 guys on the field dress the old-fashioned way. There are a lot of fans that like that look.
Yeah.
All the guys at Red Reporter, they dig it. In fact, I think they wear their pedestrian clothes quite a bit like that most of the time.
You dress like that on the golf course,
sometimes,
do you not?
Yeah. When I remember to bring my red socks.
The old Payne Stewart look. I've seen Frazier do this look before, but I don't know that I've ever seen Zach Cozart sport the Red Sox look.
Maybe that was the content of that meeting they had in Dusty Baker's office.
I can just imagine them sitting in there talking fashion. Now, if Dusty had his up like that, I might believe you. His club in front in this game 4-0. We play in the bottom of the third. Again to the mound, and Bailey will make the play, and there's the perfect frame. 1, 2, 3 go the Brewers here in the home third inning. Ohio is brought to you by Toyota. See your Toyota dealer or visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the JTM Food Group. Let's create great dishes together. Inside Miller Park, Reds lead 4-0, fourth inning. Homer Bailey leads things off. Hit by the pitch for the first time in his career, his first time up. Later scored in front of Chu. Chu's 21st home run. Bailey in a good position both offensively with the support he has been able to get so far, and pitching wise looking sharp today to get victory number 11. Down the right field line, and that will fall for a hit. So Homer's on for the second time. Reds get hit number 7. Leadoff
funny
man
how
on.
things even out a little bit. Last night the Brewers, it seemed like every time they needed a clutch hit, they got one of these right here. Jam shot going the other way. And I think the difference, however, is that today, as I said earlier, Hellwig is providing the elevation. I mean, he's throwing everything up around the letters and the waist, and you're bound to get the ball up in the air when you hit off a guy that does that.
Now it's Chu. Big day for him so far. A double, a home run. Came into the game with 890 career hits. And here's number 892. Straightaway center. 21st of the year. Made it 4-0 Reds. Well, you think back to the acquisition of Chu in the offseason and then watching him early on in spring training and wondering if he was going to be able to do the things offensively that he had been doing in the past. Wondering if he's going to be able to do it in the leadoff spot, and then certainly wondering if he was going to be able to anchor this team defensively out in center field. And now here you look back, Chris, some 6.5 months later, it's been unbelievable.
Well, you and I were lucky, Jim. We were down in spring training and got to see him play an awful lot, and I had no fear at all about his defense. And the way he goes about his business is as professional as any player the Reds have ever had on their ball club.
Is that caught? It is, and back to first base goes Bailey.
You know, the other thing you consider about Chu, that in the leadoff spot this year, Chu has been on base roughly 100 times more than what the leadoff hitter did for the Reds last year. And he hasn't played every day. He plays nearly every day. But, I mean, when you're on base 100 times more than what you were the year before, of course you're going to have a better offense and a better start to a ball game.
So that leads to the question that everybody is asking is, can the Reds re-sign Chu and keep him in Cincinnati past this 1 year of 2013? That's a decision that will be made by the baseball brass, owner Bob Castellini, as to whether they want to do that or not.
Well, it's not only their decision. Of course, it's the decision of Chu, his family, his agent. Everybody's got to be able to get together on it. And you really wonder at age 30 what Chu feels like he's worth in the marketplace. Right now, he is represented by Scott Boras. And if you're a big-time free agent, Scott Boras is going to figure out a way to get you the best deal out there. I'm sure the Reds want to keep him. I mean, based on what they've seen from him this year, he'd be an awfully tough guy to replace, even with Billy Hamilton in your farm system.
Right. It'll certainly be interesting once the season finally wraps up as to how that all goes between the Reds and Shin-Soo Choo. Milwaukee does have action in their bullpen. The former Cardinal Michael Blazek is up and throwing. Phillips into center field, but playable. Gomez is there. 2 out. Blazek came over here when John Axford went to the Cardinals. He is throwing in the bullpen. 2 out for Votto. There's Blazek. Votto hit one to the warning track in right field his last time, had a sac fly to center in the first. Hammers this ball to left center field. Gomez over to cut it off. Bailey will stop at second. Votto way overran first base, thinking that certainly Homer was going to try to go to third. Luckily, he's able to get back to first base. I mean, he had head down and he was in doubles mode right there.
Well, we've seen it happen before where the Reds have run the bases with their heads down, and when you do that, you often run into problems. But no problem right there with 2 outs. Homer Bailey's not going to try to stretch anything big time, and Votto, meanwhile, goes about halfway to second base. No issue because the whole play was in front of him.
So 2 hits in the inning, 8 now in the game for the Reds, who picked up a grand total of only 4 here last night. Bruce trying to add to what is a 4-0 Reds lead as he fouls this one away. Jay came in 1 for his last 15. Walked and scored in the first, grounded out his last time. Like to see him launch one right here and put that RBI total at 96.
I mean, that's where you want to throw the ball if you're Johnny Helwig. I mean, you see he had sinking action on that ball in addition to that ball moving a little bit laterally. But he's thrown most of his pitches thigh high to about the letters, and that's one reason why the Reds have 8 hits on the board.
To first, Betancourt steps on the bag. The twirling into that bat went right by Helwig, who dodged it. Reds fail. They leave 2 and have stranded 6, but lead 4-0. talk show with Regis Philbin and a cast of former athletes and journalists where you can always expect the unexpected. Catch Crowd Goes Wild weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Of course, Fox Sports 1 is available on all TV providers. Simply go to foxsports1.com to find out what channel Fox Sports 1 is in your area. Homer Bailey, so far, 1 hit allowed, walked 1, fan 3, owner of a 4-0 lead in search of victory number 11. Here's the last out of that last inning. Elwick dodging that twirling bat. And Jay Bruce. All's well that ended well. Bailey back to work. Scooter Gennett leads things off. Now we start to see those shadows creep across the field. They've crossed the first base line. Brewers have had issues in the past with starting times here, and the sun, the way it comes through some of the windows, despite the ballpark's roof being open. In fact, they are trying a new shading system on some of the windows here in this series. They have 2 or 3 different options, and they're hoping to be able to settle on one before this season comes to an end and use it permanently beginning next year.
Now, if you come up out of the minor leagues growing up, actually, and then sign a professional contract and your name is Scooter, you got to be a pretty good player. And there have been some other players around Major League Baseball previous to Scooter Gennett that have had the name Scooter.
Now fall for a base hit, so this modern day Scooter is aboard.
How about some of the other ones? Our crack staff, led by Josh Hall, has done a lot of research, and hear what you've come up with. Ryan Scooter Gennett, of course, he just hit that single. Scooter Tucker. I'm not sure if I know Scooter Koshorik, but everybody knows the Scooter. Phil Rizzuto, Hall of Famer.
You could call Josh Hall Scooter, the way he scoots around.
Now, the story about Scooter Gennett is that he was named that as a young boy when he used to watch the Muppets.
The Muppets have someone on the show named Scooter?
They named it as an alias to the police officer when his mother, he used it in a story when he wouldn't buckle up his seatbelt. And his mom drove him to the police station. And he used it as an excuse to not buckle up his seatbelt.
Because his name was Scooter?
Evidently so, because he thought he was one of the Muppets. Or a story, something like that. Hard to get it when it's 2 or 3 decades removed.
Ryan Joseph. Probably what his mom calls him when he got in trouble.
Yeah, buckle that seatbelt up.
Ryan Joseph, I'm not telling you again.
Don't make me come back there. Or stop the car.
I'll pull this car right over. Chris Davis almost swung out of his hat again on the 1-1 pitch. Now he's at 1-2. There's a good look at those shadows. Chu going back, still going back, not going to get it. Gennett comes to third, being waved around by Ed Cedar. Throw home is not in time. Brewers are on the board on a ringing double to center by Chris Davis.
Well, they're really high on this young man, no doubt about it. They missed him for the last 7 games with a sore wrist, and he takes a cut, but he also is able to put the barrel on the ball. Bailey obliges him by throwing one about thigh-high inner third, and Davis nearly bounces one out of here. And actually The Brewers catch a break right there by that ball not bouncing out of the ballpark, bouncing off the fence. It scores a runner, Jeanette, from first base, and they're on the board.
Gives Davis his 22nd RBI, his 9th double. He's now 4 for 7 against Homer Bailey this year, and now 11 for 23 with 10 RBIs against Cincinnati pitching. Here's the other tandem of that hard swinging duo, Davis and Gomez. Flied to right his first time. Carlos Gomez tied a career high last night with 5 RBIs. That dunker in the right in the first produced a couple. Same thing in the left in the third, produced another one. Hardest ball he hit last night was that line drive into right in the 5th, which was caught by Bruce. Guess that's somehow how it works out. A pretty good crowd here at Miller Park today. Nothing like the just shy of 40,000 they had last night, but nonetheless, good Saturday afternoon gathering. Want some sun? You can sit down the left field side. Want to be in the comfortable shaded area behind home plate or the first base side. There's that shadow creeping across. Good look of it right there on that last shot. Into center. That's going to produce another run for the Brewers. Davis will score. Gomez knocks in his 6th of this series. That's 4-2.
Carlos Gomez hits the ball harder in this particular bat than he did all of last night. Homer Bailey again getting the ball up out over the center of the plate, and Davis and Gomez are pretty good when you get the ball up there.
Brian Price to the mound. The battery and the pitching coach discuss out on the hill.
I think really that quick meeting by Brian Price was more or less just to remind Homer Bailey, hey, throw the ball down here. I mean, when you're at your best, you're either at the very top of the strike zone or above or down around the hollow of the knees. I mean, there aren't too many pitchers out there this side of Aroldis Chapman that can throw it right down the middle and expect to get hitters out consistently. And even he has his problems when he does that.
The Reds lead cut in half. Still nobody out in the inning. Yuniesky Betancourt now represents the tying run in this game. Smoked one to center his first time, caught by Chu.
Here are the pitch locations. Davis is on the left right here, and then Gomez gets it right there. You see, I mean, those are hittable spots for both of those guys, and that's one reason why they have put 2 on the board. They've had 3 base hits in a row. In the same way, it's hard for you at home to look into your television and see the catcher from that center field camera shot. It's very difficult for the fielders, especially the outfielders, to pick the ball coming up off the bat right now. When the field is in bright sun, the home plate area is darkened, and you really just don't get a good jump off the baseball. You see the batter swing, you're looking for the ball. This is one of the things that you get in a retractable dome stadium, more so than you get in a stadium that has no roof at all on it. Those shadows getting more involved before, an hour before sundown, for instance.
Well, by the time this game ends, that shadow line will be all the way across the field. Remember, it's about now. This is how it'll be at the start of the game tomorrow. 2:20 Eastern time. Yeah, if they have the roof open, correct. Closed last night, open today. Runner going. Hannigan's throw way wide right. Phillips on a hop got that ball. It was intended for Cozart. Phillips caught it. Gomez gets his 36th of the year.
That combination of Segura and Gomez certainly give them a little bit of a running game out there. And got a big jump. I don't even think a perfect throw was going to get him anyway, as Gomez gets a good jump off of Homer Bailey.
Gomez now one stolen base shy of equaling his career high of 37 from a year ago. Brewer stole 3 bases last night. One today, now 128 on the year, tops in the National League. That has been their offensive bright spot this year. Betancourt was in the hole 2 strikes. Now he's at 2-2. And now full.
And Homer now suddenly has his body getting ahead of his arm a little bit.
This one in the air to right. Bruce locates it. The catch. There's the tag. Test to the arm of Bruce, and safely in the third, Carlos Gomez.
Gomez had a couple of things going for him right there. Number one, it was a fairly deep fly ball. Number two, he was running from second to third in exactly the same line that throw is going to have to come. So he was almost taking up the throwing lane from right field, and if that throw had been closer to the bag, chances are it was going to hit him in the back.
So Gomez now in scoring position. Corners move in. Now the middle infielders, initially playing back, will also move in. Jeff Bianchi at the plate, right-handed hitter. Into center. Gomez will tag. This will get the run home. Chu makes the catch. Sacrifice fly. Bianchi. RBI 23 for him. The Brewers come up with a 3 spot here in the bottom of the 4th to make this a 1-run game.
That's a momentum changer this inning. There's no doubt. I mean, the first 3 hitters get base hits, all solidly struck. Just like this, what looked like it was going to be somewhat of an easy afternoon for Dusty Baker's crew is a 1-run game.
And the Brewers use their speed to get Gomez into position, not only stealing second, but getting over to third to allow that sac fly to produce the run. Martin Maldonado with the bases empty.
Isn't it time to get rid of the sac fly as a stat? I mean, you don't get a sacrifice ground ball when the infield's playing back and you score a guy from third base. Why would you get a sacrifice fly? What's the difference?
I don't know that there is one.
I mean, you're the scoring, you know, I can't say guru, but I would say aficionado. That's a pretty good punt right there.
Frazier cannot make the barehand pick, and the catcher, Martin Maldonado, bunts himself aboard with a single.
Well, he's got the infield back, so he figures if all I can do is get it past the pitcher on the left side, I've got a chance, and he lays it down in direction of the shortstop. Now you may ask yourself, well, if you're a number 8 hitter with 2 outs, why are you bunting in front of the pitcher? Well, if for no other reason, you bring the pitcher to the plate in this inning.
Frazier will throw Hellwig out, inning over. But as you were going to say, now the top of the order will lead things off in the bottom of the fifth for the Brewers. They come up with 3 to make it a 1-run game. In extra base hits coming to this game was 68. Nothing yet in this game, nothing yet in this series for Jay Bruce. Leads us right into our AT&T trivia question of the game. Who was the last Reds player to lead the National League in extra base hits? Bruce leads now. Who's the last Reds player to lead the National League in extra base hits? Jay was 68. He made the last out of the 4th inning, so he'll wait his turn again as Ludwig leads things off. Here the top of number 5 against Johnny Hellwig after the Reds get 2 in the 1st and 2nd against him. 4 batter 3rd thanks to a double play. 5 batter 4th, which the Reds left 2 on. Ludwig 2 for 2. So he has 6 multi-hit games so far this year, 4 of them against the Brewers. Bianchi will throw him out here. First pitch, 5th inning.
Next batter, number 21, third baseman, Frazier.
So now it's Frazier. Caught an RBI single to right and a fly ball to right. Choose home run now. The difference in this game for the Reds. Was he hit by the pitch? He was. Second of the day, hit by Hellwig. Reds get a base runner with 1 out.
Yeah, second hit by the day by Hellwig, both in the same spot on the left elbow. He got Homer Bailey earlier. Boy, Todd Frazier wants to rub this in the worst way.
Next time up there, he may be wearing one of those protective elbow pads. Not the big bulky things we used to see Barry Bonds wear. But
now I think you need to have permission from baseball. I don't know whether it's the commissioner's office or the league office, but I think you have to ask permission to wear one. What you do see is a lot of players who hit opposite of how they throw. For instance, if you're a right-handed thrower and you hit left-handed, your throwing arm is exposed in the front. So a lot of those guys will wear it. Almost all the pitchers that hit opposite of the way they throw will wear one of those.
We saw Aramis Ramirez wearing one last night. We've seen Norichika Aoki wear one.
Or if you can make a case to the league that you've had an elbow problem or an arm problem or have been hit there previously, then they usually will give you the permission to do so. But what the league doesn't want are those guys wearing big, essentially football padding up there and having no fear of being hit.
And that's in effect what Bonds used to wear. Cozart reached on the error his last time. Frazier being right up there among the league leaders in hit batsmen with 13 now. Of course, Chu set the franchise record when he was hit his last time during the homestand, 25. Previous mark 24 by Jason LaRue back in 04.
It's a nice little changeup that Hellwig threw right there. The Reds haven't seen too many of those. You can see in Hellwig the makings of a pitcher that can be a dominant type pitcher if he's just able to add a little bit better break to that breaking ball and better control overall to his fastball.
Hardy there is Zach Cozart, who strikes out. He's 0 for 3. Reminder coming up later in the broadcast, our Miller time moment of the game, brought to you by Miller Lite. First strikeout of the day for the big 6'9" right-hander Johnny Hellwig. Came into the game with 16 walks, 4 strikeouts, 16 2/3. You look at that, you almost think it's a misprint. Hannigan bounced into an inning-ending double play his last time. He's 0 for 2. Now we'll get 74 pitches as he works here in the 5th inning. Took Kyle Loesch a grand total of 111 to go the distance for the first time this year last night, marking him as the second Brewers pitcher this year, along with Willie Peralta, to go the distance against the Reds. Reds have had 6 complete games against them this year, 2 of them by Milwaukee pitchers. 5 of them on the road. The only pitcher to throw a complete game against the Reds this year in Cincinnati is Patrick Corbin of the Diamondbacks. Homer Bailey waits next. Reds led 2-0, 4-0, now 4-3 as they bat here in the 5th.
Jim, we want to send out our congratulations to the Lawrence County All-Stars, 13-year-old Babe Ruth team from Lawrence County down in Tennessee. They went out to the World Series in Williston, North Dakota, and they qualified for the final game. They lost the final game, but they came in second in the country. And it's coached by our good friend and former Red, David Weathers. And remember David Weathers and his son Ryan used to come to the ballpark on a daily basis and work out. He's now 13 years old, and Congratulations to all those guys down there at the Lawrence County All-Stars.
Well, good for them. Congratulations.
Well, they had a big send-off the week before they went out to North Dakota. The entire town essentially showed up at the town square. David spoke to the town. They were a raucous group, sending the boys off with best wishes. And, boy, they had one heck of a season this year. 18-2 they ended up. You can't find a better mentor or coach than David Weathers either.
There's another hit batsman. This one is Hannigan. Third of this game by Johnny Helwig. David Weathers, of course, wore the uniform of both these clubs.
Yes, he did. Well, that's the spot. You know, Helwig's having a hard time hitting the bottom of the strike zone, but he's having no hard time at all hitting the back of the left arm of Reds hitters.
Martin Maldonado walks out there.
I can tell you by the look that Ryan Hannigan gave him, he's a little chapped. I mean, he knows it's not intentional, but Hannigan gave him a look as to say, hey, would you just throw the ball over the plate, please? I mean, you're beat up enough as a catcher without having to put up with that. And Maldonado went out once, and that wasn't enough. Now they're going to have an official visit.
Yeah, Rick Kranitz, the pitching coach, will go out. Well, you're passing along congratulations to that youth baseball team. We might as well pass along some other best wishes today. A couple of birthday wishes. First, belated happy birthday to Marnell DuPont from Avon, Ohio. Celebrated her 90th birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
All right, Marnell. And celebrating a birthday today, Phyllis Wilson. Phyllis said, now you can't have my age. I'll just tell you this. I've been a Reds fan for a long time, and I watch every game, so congratulations and happy birthday, Phyllis Wilson. So now it's Bailey, who's been on twice. Helwig has hit 3 batters. His opposite number, Bailey. That was back in the second, and then in this inning, Frazier and Hannigan. 2 on with 2 out. Michael Blazek back up and throwing in the Brewers bullpen. Runner going to third. The throw gets Frazier. He was about halfway between second and third, and I think he was hoping they'd throw down to second so he could run to third, but Maldonado fires to third. Frazier out easily. September the 27th. You can do that at Great American Ballpark, presented by Mission Foods. Arrive early, enjoy special pregame ceremonies down on the field. Plus, then stick around after the game for the last fireworks show of the season. Tickets to cheer on the Reds as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to Reds.com/tickets. Here's what happened to end the top of the 5th inning with Frazier at third.
Well, Frazier's got a big lead off second. You see Segura sneaking in behind him, but the throw goes to third base, and I'm not sure where Frazier thinks he's going. With 2 outs and the pitcher at the plate. Tootbland. I mean, you know, that unless you plan on stealing third and then stealing home, why would you get that far off second base? It's going to take a base hit by Bailey to score you, or maybe he works a walk and you've got bases loaded, you turn the lineup over. But you run yourselves out of an inning, and not only that, but you have the pitcher to lead the inning off next time when the Reds come to bat. And that's really not the most ideal thing.
I think if he went out and told Todd Frazier those things right now, he would agree with you 100%.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you don't want to beat up a guy when he's down.
He would agree with you.
That's just a play that he wishes he could undo.
Yes. Top of the Brewers order here in the bottom of the 5th. Aoki to lead it off. Homer gets ahead 1-2. Aoki is struck out. Bunted back to the mound. He's done a very good job of getting on base against the Reds this year. On base percentage of .355 against Cincinnati. Last 2 days, Chris, your tech talks have been with Shin-Soo Choo about transitioning really from hitting as he did in Japan or Korea to hitting as he does now. This is, I guess, with Aoki, the way he used to look.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The way he was taught and brought up in Korea to kind of slap, run out of the batter's box at the same time. He took one look around when he was in the minor leagues with the Seattle Mariners and said, this isn't going to do. And he's become much more of a conventional, quote-unquote, American-style hitter, whereas Aoki was 30 years old when he came over from Japan, and he continues the same type of batting style that he had over there.
Ahead 1-2. Bailey loses Aoki.
Well, can you feel the momentum shift in this ball game? I mean, it started last inning, obviously, when the Brewers had 3 hits in a row and they scored 3 runs. But then when you run yourself out of an inning offensively, even though the inning would probably have been over anyway, chances are Homer Bailey makes an out. But it's just different when you run yourself out on an easy out on a base pass for no apparent reason. And then you lead the inning off with a walk. And now you're breathing life into a team that is really just playing out the stretch. And these games are so important to the Reds. This is exactly the kind of thing that Dusty Baker probably had in mind when he had that meeting with his players before the game.
Now it's Gene Segura. Today 0 for 2. 2 for 6 in the series for Segura, including a bunt hit last night. Cozart, Phillips, no relay. First out here in the bottom of the 5th. Now we'll keep our eye on Segura to see if he has plans about trying to steal second base. Mentioned it last night, but it bears repeating. He's trying to become the first second baseman since Scott Podsednik in Brewers history to lead the league in thefts. Podsednik had 70 back in 2004. Segura, 42, leads the league now. Scooter Gennett, 2 for 2. Late cut there by Gennett.
That cut was almost so late that it almost looks like a setup swing, but I don't think it was. Not with the conditions for seeing the baseball so difficult here for hitters right now.
The pitcher just now went into the shadows with the batter. Hannigan near the netting, and Hannigan has room and makes the play. So Gennett retired for the first time in this game. 2 out. So now it's a dangerous Chris Davis. Again, Davis, 13 home runs in the minor leagues this year, 9 here, so 22 on the year. For him, equals a career high. This being his first year in the big leagues, but taking a look back at his minor league career, he had 22 home runs in 2010 playing minor league ball. Combined between AAA and the big leagues this year, 22. Pretty good numbers against Bailey, including a couple of home runs. Homer keeping an eye on Segura over there at first. He's running. The pitch, a strike. The throw bounces away. Stolen base for Gene Segura. 2 last night, 1 today, number 43 for him.
Now, Homer Bailey, that's the one last thing that he's not been able to really figure out as to how to shut down the running game. That is the 13th base of the year stolen off of Bailey in a year where really the stolen base isn't all that active, except here with the Brewers. They've thrown out 3, and Segura represents a tying run.
Aoki walked to start this inning. Segura hit into a force play. Gennett fouled out to the catcher. Segura steals second. Now Davis an opportunity with a runner in scoring position. Davis in the big leagues, 259 with runners in scoring position. Now he's ahead 2-1. Carlos Gomez on deck. First game back in 8 days for Chris Davis. Missed the last 7. Sore left wrist. Now he's going to get a look at a 3-1 pitch from Bailey.
Well, a 2-1 pitch was a fastball count. Bailey didn't want to do it. He threw a breaking ball. And a 3-1 pitch also a fastball count normally. Davis has already proven to everybody who has cared to watch that he can turn on a fastball. We're going to go up the ladder on him.
To the right side, and Phillips will throw Davis out, ending the threat by the Brewers in the bottom of the 5th. They leave the tying run in scoring position. Reds still lead by a run through 5. Busaw with Reds Live here on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Live brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing here on FSO, your exclusive home for Reds baseball. Tomorrow 1:30 with Reds Live with Jim Day, 2:10 first pitch. Today, make sure you stay with us afterwards. Reds Live post game brought to you by King's Honda in the King's Auto Mall. Visit King'sHondaUSA.com. 4-3 Reds through 5. They've out hit the Brewers 8-5, and they will face a new pitcher on. 24-year-old right-hander Michael Blazek, who was involved recently in the trade between the Cardinals and the Brewers. That was September 1, some 2 weeks ago. John Axford goes to the Cardinals. Michael Blazek comes over here. Blazek so far with the Brewers has made 2 appearances, totaling 2 innings, 1 unearned run and 2 hits after making 11 appearances with the Cardinals earlier this year. For the veteran Axford, for the young man Blazek. He gets Bailey, who was at the plate when Frazier was thrown out trying to steal third to lead it off.
It was a deal between the Cardinals and the Brewers that made a lot of sense for both teams. The Brewers ended up picking up a big arm in Michael Blazek, young guy. They've got tons of arms in St. Louis. So, and the Brewers are looking for young arms. And of course, on the other side of it, you had John Axford, who went from here in Milwaukee from really a middle reliever to a dominating closer back to a middle reliever. And it was really time, even by his estimation, that he move on. And the Cardinals pick up an experienced arm down the bullpen in the event that they need some late inning help.
Interesting to hear some of the comments by Axford, and he wouldn't go into specifics, but he said, in effect, it's interesting to see the way they do things over here versus the way that I'm used to having them done in Milwaukee. Asked about what specifically he was talking about, he would not go into that.
Well, I think that he may have been referring to the enthusiasm of playing for the Cardinals, a team that is in contention nearly every year. Now, obviously, Axford has been in contention, a good ball club, postseason club, and so on in the past, but hasn't been like that the last couple of years here in Milwaukee.
Bailey out on strikes. Now it's Chu.
I wouldn't be surprised he was also referring to Yadier Molina.
Very possible.
I mean, that was comments that Kyle Loesch made when he left St. Louis and signed here with the Milwaukee Brewers. He said, you know, this is the first time I've had to think in 4 years. Because with Molina behind the plate, he essentially ran the way things are going to be, and he just put down the signs, and I would throw it. And now you're much more involved in your own game plan when you don't have him kind of helping you. He had a pretty good night last night. He's talking pitching right now.
Chu draws a 4-pitch walk that gives him 99 walks now on the year. He and Votto trying to become just the 4th set of Reds teammates, each picking up 100 walks in a season. Most recently, Joe Morgan and Pete Rose back in '74. He's 1 walk away from joining Votto, who has 117. Phillips cranks one out to center field, but Gomez will track it down right at the edge of the track. He hauls it in for the 2nd out. Pretty good wood on that ball by Phillips, but for naught. Taking a look back, Blazek appeared as a Cardinal twice against the Reds, once in Cincinnati, where the Reds were able to get to him for 3 runs in 1 inning, and once in St. Louis, most recently on the 28th of August, where he threw an inning and 2/3 of shutout relief. The Reds see him for the 3rd time this year. Final line on Johnny Helwig, the Brewers starter. 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs all earned, a walk, a strikeout, a home run. That was by Chu, and 3 hit batsmen. He threw 84 pitches. So not really dissimilar from the line he had against the Reds back in July.
Well, except from a walk standpoint, didn't he have more walks in that ball game? Of course, when you beat hitters, you keep your walks down.
He had 5 walks in that game. He had 1 today, but yeah, he hits 3 batters. Votto today a hit as last time. 1 for 2 with an RBI and a sacrifice fly. Trying to move Chu around with 2 out. Reds get 2 in the 1st. Sac fly by Votto, RBI single to right Frazier. 2 more in the 2nd, 2-run homer by Chu. Brewers get 3 in the bottom of the 4th. RBI double by Davis, RBI single by Gomez. Sac fly by Bianchi. We play here in the 6th. Tomorrow, wrap up of this series and the season series between these 2 teams. Game will start at 2:10 Eastern, 1:30 with Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio. Bronson Arroyo against Giovanni Gallardo. Keep thinking back at the comments made by Gallardo. He was on the DL for a couple of weeks with a strained hamstring. He came back and said he feels refreshed. In fact, he has not had a bad start since his return. Started with the game against the Reds. Three and 1. Bruce next. And that shadow line now has almost reached second base, second and third base. Pitcher and hitter now both in the same light.
High, deep to right field. Hooking into the corner. Hit the pole. Home run for Joey Votto. Hit the foul pole way up near the top. Votto gets number 23. Give him RBI 68 and 69. And the Reds give themselves a little more breathing room with a 6-3 lead on a pole hitter by Joey Votto.
Well, this ball is just an absolute bomb, but the question was whether it was hooking too much. I mean, he just gets all over this ball. He's doing a little body contortion right there to try to make it stay fair, and it hit the very top of that foul pole. We're not even having it in our view right there. That's just as it drops right down.
Monstrous shot right there by Votto.
It's a good at bat. It was a deep at bat. He went a 3-1 count before Blazek fired a fastball in there that he could handle.
That helped swing momentum back a little bit to the visiting side. Six to 3 now in favor of Cincinnati, with a pair of 2-run homers in this game. One by Chu and now one by Votto. Chu has scored 3 times. That now gives him 100 runs scored on the year. Second in the league in that department. Bruce strikes out on a 2-2, so the inning ends. But Joey Votto, monstrous shot down the right field line. Number 23 for him. 6-3 Reds. Special coming up on Wednesday, September the 25th. The Redlegs will take on the New York Mets in that game. Purchase a view level ticket for $15 and receive $10 in concession credits automatically loaded onto your ticket. Tickets for that Reds Mets game Wednesday, September 25 at GABP. Call 513-381 Reds. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to reds.com/tickets. Some restrictions do apply. Homer Bailey back to work. Bottom of number 6. Now owns a 3-run lead again at 6-3. Carlos Gomez leads it off. RBI single for him his last time. Gives him 63 RBIs on the year and 6 in this series already. And 3-0.
Gomez has had a very nice series after the Reds have been able to handle him for the most part this year.
You know that old saying, it looks like a line drive in the book?
Yes.
That applies to Gomez, especially with regards to the Reds this year. You know, to look at those two breakouts that we just showed you, you think that he really got hot. All of a sudden, he's hitting the ball all over the ballpark against the Reds. But he was a beneficiary of some balls that fell in there. And that's what happens in baseball. But that will get the Reds bullpen up and throwing very quickly right there. Alfredo Simon, it looks like, is the first guy up. When you lead the inning off by walking the leadoff hitter, you're asking for help.
Now it's Betancourt. And a ball. So 5 pitches thrown in the inning, all out of the zone by Homer. Brewers also have action in their bullpen. Jimmy Nelson, a right-hander. 6-3 Reds, 6th inning. Dusty pacing a bit in that Reds dugout. Reds trying for their 84th win of the year. There's a strike. 1-1. Now Zach Duke has joined Simon in the Reds pen. Betancourt, now 31 years old, native of Cuba. Primarily been a shortstop in his career. He's a long-time American League shortstop at both Seattle and at Kansas City. Was the everyday shortstop here just 2 years ago. Runner on the move. Ball in the air. Bruce and Chu closing, and it's Chu who makes the catch on Betancourt's fly ball. Unieski 0 for 3. 1 out in the inning. Now it's Jeff Bianchi.
But that ought to tell Homer Bailey the odds of Carlos Gomez attempting a stolen base has just gone up. Although down by 3, maybe not as important as it once was in this ball game. That 2-run home run by Joey Votto may be very big when it comes to trying to shut down the running game. But you give Gomez a chance. If you give him the impression you're not paying attention to him over there, he will swipe it.
The Yankees fly ball to center made it a 4-3 game. Back in the 4th inning, his sacrifice fly, giving him his 23rd RBI. Getting the start at third base today, replacing Aramis Ramirez. Brewers actually have Ramirez under contract for 1 more year. 2014. He's 35. Made his way around this division. Pirates, Cubs, Brewers. Hit on the left wrist last night early in the game and left the contest and out of there today. This one gets out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
to short. This may be a pair. There's one. There's two. Double play. Turned by the Reds. They get through the bottom of the 6th inning. The Reds in front by 3. It's 6-3. Todd Frazier in the 1st inning got the scoring started. RBI number 66 for him. That made it a 2-0 score. Shin-Soo Choo in the 2nd added to that. Home run for the Red center fielder, number 21, and it was 4-0 Reds. But a 3-run 4th inning by Milwaukee. Chris Davis, an RBI double. Then Gomez, RBI base hit into center field. That made it 4-2. They would add one more run to make it 4-3. And then Joey Votto gives Homer Bailey and company a little more breathing room. That home run ball hit off the top of the foul pole and fell back down onto the field. 23rd of the year for Votto. 6-3 Reds as we head to inning number 7. That's our Honda game summary. And a new pitcher on for Milwaukee as we enter the 7th. This is their 3rd of the game. This is Jimmy Nelson.
Just up from the minor leagues, 24 years old, from Niceville, Florida. That's up around the panhandle of the state of Florida. 2nd-round draft pick by the Brewers in 2010.
Started between AA and AAA this year in the Brewers minor league system. Made 27 starts, going 10-10.
Actually drafted by the Reds in 2007 out of high school. Ended up declining that deal. He was a 39th round draft pick. Ended up going to the University of Alabama. That's when the Brewers got him.
And he gets Ryan Ludwig to lead it off.
Primarily a starter in the minor leagues for the Brewers, now working out of the bullpen.
So Michael Blazek goes 1 inning, gives up the 2-run homer to Votto. Nelson becomes their 3rd pitcher. 6'5", 245 with that full overhead windup. He gets Ludwig, then Frazier, then Kozar. Just shy of 26,000 here today. 25,929. 25,929. Ludwig on an 0-2 breaking ball. Swings and misses. He strikes out. Go back to that AT&T trivia question we were talking about earlier. Last Reds player to lead the National League in extra base hits.
I don't know where to begin on this one.
Really?
How about the Cobra?
Parkway.
Yeah. Dave Parker had 80 extra base hits back in 1985. Led the National League. Jay Bruce was 68, leading the league now. With a shot to get to 80. Frazier 1 for 2. Hit by a pitch his last time. That shadow line has now crept across second and third, headed toward left and center field. Odd look right there. Line to third and caught by Bianchi. Frazier jumped all over it. He's the second out here of the seventh. Quick reaction by Bianchi down there at the hot corner. 2 out for Cozart. Remember, Zach's 15-game hitting streak ended on Wednesday when he went 0 for 4. Bounced back with a hit last night. 1 for 3, so a hit in 16 of his last 17. Been on base in this game via an error. He's 0 for 3. Reds have not gone down in order yet today. Cozart a strikeout victim, so 2 of them in the inning for Jimmy Nelson. Stretch time here at Miller Park in Milwaukee. '13 Major League Baseball postseason on Fox, TBS, and the MLB Network. That all starts October the 1st. Where will the Reds fall? Where will they get plugged into all of this? Counting today, the Reds have 14 games remaining. 13 after today. They're the Cardinals. They're the Pirates. One game separates those teams. Both will play tonight. Pirates at home against the Cubs. Cardinals at home against Seattle.
You know, one team that we haven't talked about very much because they have only been on the fringe of a playoff conversation is the Washington Nationals, but they run off 7 in a row and are now 4.5 games back of the Reds, and that's another reason why each one of these games for the Reds is very important, whether you win the division or not. You don't want to even give the Nationals the indication that they're in the picture.
You mentioned their game earlier tonight also. They will play at 7:05 Eastern time at home against Philly. Cole Hamels against Gio Gonzalez. We'll have all sorts of games to keep track of a little later on tonight. Juan Francisco waits on deck to bat for Nelson. Further action out there in the Milwaukee bullpen. Reds pen staying busy as well. Righty Simon, lefty Duke. This one popped up. Phillips will handle it. Maldonado is 1 for 3, and that's the first out in the bottom of the 7th inning. Now Juan Francisco will be announced as the pinch hitter for Jimmy Nelson. Let's see if that means Homer Bailey will get a visit from Dusty Baker and an exit from this game. Or with a 3-run lead, does he have a little more leeway here?
Well, he's really settled down. Bailey has after that 4th inning where he gave up 3 runs, and has not given up a hit in the last 2 innings. Has given up a base on balls in each of those innings. Right at 97 pitches is Homer. Well within his range. He's thrown as many as 120, 125 in a ball game, so he's not even close to that yet, if you wanted to ride him that long.
Here's Juan Francisco pinch hitting. On the year, he's at .233 with 18 home runs, driven in 47. He has struck out 130 times in 330 at bats.
Now he's up there really to do one thing, which is spin on the first fastball he sees where he can get his arms extended.
At 97, he does not catch up with that one. 1-2. A couple of home runs against the Reds this year. One wearing a Braves uniform, one wearing a Brewers uniform.
You know, Bailey is one of those rare pitchers that when he gets to the 7th or the 8th inning, he's throwing significantly harder than he did when he started the ball game off. I mean, his fastball around the first, second inning was 92. He's throwing 96 and 97 here, and he's done that consistently nearly every one of his starts.
Just misses, ringing up Francisco on that ball. Yeah, looking back here, Homer's had a start of 120 pitches, a start of 121, and his highest, the complete game down in Miami back in the middle of May, 125. Now he works the full count to Juan Francisco.
Good snag there by Hannigan. I'm not sure he knows how he caught that ball.
Alfredo Figueroa, right-hander, is the man up and throwing in the Brewers bullpen. 3-2 is inside, so Bailey loses the pinch hitter Francisco here in the 7th. His 4th walk. Top of the order now in Chu. That
equals a season high for Bailey. He walked 4 Braves on the 7th of May, and he walks his 4th Brewer here this afternoon. Aoki in this game is 0 for 2 with a walk.
He slaps those lefties around a little bit. Maybe that's why Homer's going to stay in the ball game.
Phillips will get it. One play on Aoki to first. He's retired 4-3. Into scoring position goes Francisco with 2 out. Congratulations to the 7th-ranked Louisville Cardinals, a winner today over Kentucky down in Lexington, 27-13.
Well, you know how to rub it in, don't you?
Cardinals to 3-0, Wildcats to 1-2. Simply passing along that college football encounter.
Just the facts.
Our good friend Jeff Pecoro, tough drive back to Cincinnati. Two out for Gene Segura. 0 for 3 in this game. Starts today 3rd in the league in hits with 170. We talked last night about his first half, second half split. All-star in the first half at 325. Second half below 250 at 246 at the start of this series. Trying to make him the final out here in the bottom of the 7th. Maldonado popped up. Pinch hitter Francisco batting for Jimmy Nelson walked. Aoki grounded out. Now Bailey will throw pitch number 109. He's due up second in the 8th inning. He's trying to get through the 7th and sit back. Watch the final 2 innings of this game. To short. Goes up. Throws out Segura. And a 7-inning outing for Homer Bailey. As he leaves the field. Reds in front by 3, 6-3.
Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, Wednesdays at 6. Join us for a look back on the previous week of Reds baseball on Reds Weekly with the best highlights from last week and features and interviews with Reds personnel you won't want to miss. Reds Weekly, Wednesdays at 6, brought to you by Safe Auto. Drive safe, spend less.
Homer Bailey, 6 innings, 3 runs, 5 hits. Homer walked 4, fanned 3. Scheduled to be up second in the 8th inning, but right at around 110 pitches, his day finished. Reds leading 6-3.
He did a nice job, Homer did, coming back and putting down the Brewers after giving up a one-out walk. In fact, he walked the batter in each of the last 3 innings, but they really couldn't get anything going against him. So the Reds hoping to add on here in the top of the 8th inning. Alfredo Figueroa, 29-year-old right-hander, originally signed out of the Dominican Republic by the Dodgers. Ended up becoming a free agent, went to the Tigers, played there for several years, and now he finds himself a Brewer after signing a contract at the end of January.
Hannigan first, then the pinch hitter on deck, Derek Robinson. Then back to the top of the order. Figueroa to Hannigan and a strike. Reds can hang on here. Homer Bailey would get his 6th straight decision on the winning side of things, extending his career best streak and put him above 500 at 11-10. Last time he was above 500 this year record-wise was after he picked up a win in his first game of the year at home against the Nationals. Hannigan today 0 for 2 when hit by a pitch. Robinson waiting to bat for Bailey. Sam LeCure had been up and throwing in the Reds bullpen. Bullpens here out in left and right center field. The other day with Jeff Brantley, Chris, we were talking about the old golf carts that pitchers used to ride in on. Did you ever ride in on those?
I did indeed, yeah.
We were wondering why they had gone away. Jeff's theory was that they used those a lot on the old artificial turf fields, and now the grounds crew, they don't like them driving those things on the grass. They wouldn't necessarily have to drive them on the grass.
I think the main reason why they showed up in the first place was not necessarily to bring the reliever in. Those guys are capable of running it on their own, but because it was a sponsored item.
Yeah. Well, remember they used to have the team cap on the top.
I know they had a Toyota car in Yankee Stadium, and I wanted to walk in or run in from the Yankee Stadium bullpen, and guy pulled up next to me and says, "Get in the car."
You were
I
young
had
enough.
no choice.
And you said, okay. Like in the streets of New York.
Kind of wish he had delivered me to Manhattan instead of the Yankee Stadium mound on that day.
Didn't go very well, huh? Hannigan draws the walk on the 3-2. Third issued by Brewer pitching today. The leadoff man is on, and now Derek Robinson spent most of this year in the big leagues with the Reds. Went down for a couple of weeks in August. Back on September 1. He'll get instruction from Mark Berry as to exactly what's going to happen here. Now Billy Hamilton emerges from the Reds dugout. He's going to run for Hannigan. And what a debut this young man had. Hamilton in Cincinnati, 4 steals and 4 attempts. Some big runs scored in the Cardinal and Dodger series.
Well, not only what he did on the field, but just the enthusiasm and the electricity that he brought to the ballpark when he was announced to come in to run. First 2 times he ran, it was for Ryan Ludwig. Reds needed those ball games. They were tight games against the St. Louis Cardinals. Stole his first 2 bases in 2 attempts against Yadier Molina. I mean, that was a dramatic way of breaking into the major leagues.
In at third is Bianchi. And now a throw to first. Robinson overall at 247 with 7 runs batted in. 7 for 27 as a pinch hitter. Showing bunt, taking a ball is Robinson.
Not sure why you would bunt right here. Maybe Robinson was just squaring around to give Billy Hamilton a pitch or two to go on. Well, I think it's fascinating really to see what happens to the pitcher and his deliveries to the plate with Hamilton on first base. That's the kind of the residual effect of having a speedster out there, because you're always got that guy on your mind and you're keeping the stolen base from happening. You rush your delivery.
There he goes. The throw down is wide. Stolen base, Hamilton. Third base side of second base. That ball taken by Segura. And Billy gets number 5 in 5 attempts.
Well, they had a big lead. They chased him back as much as they could, and he digs his left foot in, and there he goes.
Well, Maldonado had that body coming out of there and had to reach back for the ball.
Almost a modified pitch out the way he had his body going. He's got a strong arm, Maldonado does, and that ball just on the other side of the bag. It takes a perfect throw to get Billy Hamilton.
Still expecting bunt on the Brewers, and there's the bunt to third. Bianchi will throw Robinson out. Hamilton now 90 feet away with one man gone. Couple of chances now to get an additional run across. First one falls on the shoulders of Chu. Robinson, the glad hand from his mates. Job well done.
Well, what a difference it is when you're able to sacrifice a guy to third base with one out rather than trying to get him from first to second and make an out.
Chu been on 3 times today. 2 for 3, a double, a 2-run homer. Brewers have their infield in. Dusty asked before the game today about strikeouts versus making contact, and that he's a little disappointed that the strikeouts are so accepted now as part of the game. He said back in his day, you'd get sent down to the minor leagues if you struck out too much. He feels they are too accepted.
Well, one of the things, it used to be an embarrassment, and it used to be that a hitter would think that I'm giving the pitcher something to brag about. I'm giving him an accomplishment. And there are hitters that would rather hit a ground ball to the second baseman than strike out because they don't want to give the pitcher anything. Now, no big deal.
In the air to center, and this is going to get the run home. Back goes Gomez, and he'll make the catch. Hamilton will tag and score 7-3. Nicely done by Chu to get the run home. Reds have their original 4-run lead back. Now they led 4-0. Brewers cut it to 4-3, and now 7-3 Reds here in the 8th. 3 RBI day for Chu gives him 51 on the year.
Seems like every time Hamilton gets on base, he comes around to score.
Yeah. Four of the 5 times, in fact, he has. So the base is clear for Phillips. Reds will employ a new pitcher in the bottom of the 8th. LeCure and Duke, righty lefty combo in the Reds bullpen. Tipped off the glove to the shortstop Segura. Bare hand pick and throw. And Phillips is out. That'll go 1-6-3. Brandon is a 1 for 4 day. And we will go to the bottom of the 8th. The Reds leading again by 4.
Some Old Spice. Homer Bailey's behind our whip of the day. He had a few of them working. Homer Bailey did. Had breaking ball to start the ball game off when Aoki went down on it. Overall, Homer Bailey has really turned things around against the Brewers. When you consider what he did in the first 13 starts of his major league career against the Brewers, they owned him. 1-7 record, higher in run average. They just would love when Homer took them out, but not so the last 3 ball games. He's turned that around, and little by little, Homer Bailey is showing everybody around the National League that when he's on his game, he can do more than just go out there and be competitive. He can give you a quality start, keeps his team in the ball game, and right now headed for a win number 11 on the year against 10 losses.
Well, Zach Duke will come on in relief. Duke pitched 1/3 of an inning last night. He will throw to a new catcher. Devin Mesoraco takes over for Hannigan behind the plate. Now Jeanette lifted, and Sean Halton, who started at first base last night, pinch hits for the Brewers second baseman here in the bottom of the 8th with the Reds up by 4. That's 7-3. Jeanette, while he was in there, was 2 for 3. Halton at 269 in 30 games with a couple of home runs, 9 runs batted in, 2 for 10 as a pinch hitter. Mentioned he started at first base last night, had a pair of singles, 2 for 4. Red starter Homer Bailey, 7 innings. He allows 3 runs, all earned, 5 hits, walked 4, fanned 3. Halton gets it in the air to center. Long run for Chu. Gets to the spot, makes the catch. Pinch hitter retired, and a good start to the bottom of the 8th. 109 pitches for Homer Bailey this afternoon. Here comes Dusty Baker. Apparently had Duke in there to get the lefty Jeanette, who was then lifted. Now they have Davis, Gomez, Betancourt, a slew of right-handers. Sam LeCure has been throwing in the bullpen. Dusty will make the call. So 1 batter and out for Zach Duke. New pitcher on, and this is our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Inning, Zach Duke, 1 batter. That was the pinch hitter Halton. Got him. And now Sam takes over for the 58th time.
Yeah, you may have seen a shot of Delino DeShields standing next to Billy Hatcher in the Reds dugout right there. What the Reds do every year, a lot of ball clubs do that. When they call down the minor leagues and bring up players up, they also bring up coaches and managers. And Delino was the manager of Dayton, the Dayton Dragon Ball Club.
Actually, I think he was at Pensacola.
You know what?
Chris,
You're right. This year he was at Dayton last year. He was at Pensacola this year. Nice to see him up here. And a lot of people, when they saw him, the Brewers players and former players who are now coaches, hey, there's Delino DeShields. So great guy. And he's really a wonderful mentor for Billy Hamilton. DeShields, a very active base stealer in his day. And nice to have him up here.
He'll be with the club this entire road trip. Chris Davis bats first to face Sam LeCure in this game. Bailey 7, Duke 1/3, LeCure in there now. Davis an RBI double back in the 4th. Grounded out with a runner in score position in the 5th inning with a chance to tie the game. That's here now. The Reds back up by 4 at 7-3. Every time Sam gets into a game, it's a new career best for him. This is number 58. He appeared 48 times a year ago. Recent homestand, he worked twice against the Cardinals, once against the Dodgers. Most recently, 3 days ago against the Cubs in that 6-0 win. 1 inning, no runs, 1 hit. Now he's behind Davis 3-1. Carlos Gomez waiting on deck. Ball 4.
That's the first time they faced each other in this ball game, and you figure that everybody knows that Davis is a pretty good fastball hitter. That's why you're seeing breaking ball, trying to pick away at the outside corner of the fastball. Another breaking ball. Our Mazda pitch will show ball 4, finally missing downstairs. So obviously, with the way that Chris Davis has hit the Reds, Sam LeCure has known that and pitched very carefully to him right there, despite a 4-run lead.
So now it's Carlos Gomez, who's been on twice, once via the hit, once via the walk. Hammers this one into center down in front of Chu. A 1-out rally by the Brewers, a walk and a base hit. The tying run is on deck, the person of Jeff Bianchi. Here's Betancourt. Over 3 today for Betancourt. Boy, the Reds could sure use a double play ball right here. Betancourt has hit into 8 this season. Reds have turned 1 today. Pinch hitter Halton flied out. Davis walked. Gomez singles. Foul ball past third. Jeff Bianchi, the third baseman, who hit into that double play ball back in the 6th inning to end the inning, waits next. Reds have never trailed in the game. Lead 7-3 in the bottom of the 8th. Trying to put the pressure on the Pirates and the Cardinals. Reds start the day 3.5 out. That's behind first place St. Louis, 2.5 behind second place Pittsburgh. And that is for the top wild card spot. Nice off-speed pitch there, and he had Betancourt way out in front.
1-2.
You know, LeCure's curveball is so slow. I mean, he'll be measuring that pitch sometimes in the mid-60s. That one in the mid-70s right there, but it has a tendency to really get the hitter way out in front. Even if you think you're looking for breaking ball, rarely are you looking for one that slow.
Manny Parra, Aroldis Chapman. Lefties 2 and 3 at the disposal of Dusty Baker, throwing in the bullpen. Strike 3 call. Rung up by Angel Hernandez. Is Yuniesky Betancourt for the second out.
One of those fastballs that starts outside, has such good movement. You see where Mesoraco's sitting. He doesn't have to move an inch. You know, when you boil it all down for Sam LeCure, I mean, his nickname is Nails. He's got a good breaking ball. He can be a versatile pitcher, starter, reliever, short reliever. Give you a long number of innings if you need it. But really his calling card is his control of all his pitches. He keeps his head so still during his delivery. That's what enables him to stay behind the baseball and throw it with a lot of accuracy.
Misses here for ball 1 to Jeff Bianchi. Trying to send this game into the 9th with a 4-run lead is Sam LeCure. Catcher Maldonado waits next. Reds in their half of the 9th. Votto, Bruce, Ludwig. Out hitting the Brewers thus far 9-6, leading them 7-3. Trying to set this series up for a rubber game tomorrow afternoon at 2:10. Win here today would give the Reds the season series. They lead at 9-8 going into today. Talked about the Reds dominating early. The Brewers having won 5 of the last 7 between these two teams. Slice down the right field line. Foul ball. It goes to 2-2 with the runners retreating. Back to second base goes Carlos Gomez. Check that goes Chris Davis. Back to first goes Gomez.
Bianchi puts that foot down. He's thinking they're going to pitch him away because the first 3 pitches have been down and away, and he's just trying to stay alive. We show you that box tracks with the pitch locations in a group. It's really amazing how wonderful the control is in most major league pitchers, especially guys like LeCure that have a less than a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. He realizes if he's going to stay up here, he's got to be able to pinpoint that baby.
Well, that's what he'd like to do here at 2-2 to Jeff Bianchi. Davis at second, Gomez from first. Full count. Now the runners will be moving. Sam hasn't had that quite as good pinpoint control today as we've seen normally from him. Walk Davis. Now he's at 3-2 to Bianchi. Reynolds will be on the move from first and second with 2 out. There they go. Foul ball. Lefty Michael Gonzalez up and throwing in the Milwaukee bullpen. Off they go again. Ball 4.
Last time I'm going to talk about control.
2 walks and a hit in the inning against LeCure. Dusty Baker out. Martin Maldonado due up. A couple of lefties in the bullpen. I believe they're calling for Aroldis Chapman right here. LeCure upset with himself as he turns the ball over. Gate will open out there along the right center field wall. And Aroldis Chapman will make only his second appearance prior to the 9th inning this year here in Milwaukee on this September the 14th. Chapman in. We'll be back with more in a moment. Aroldis Chapman is on. This is a save situation for him as the batter will be Jonathan Lucroy to pinch hit. And he'll come on as a third pitcher of this inning.
Dusty Baker's made mention that he did not want to use Aroldis Chapman in more than an inning, and he kept to that word pretty much the entire season till the month of September rolled around, and that's when he began to use Aroldis a little bit more, warming him up in the 8th inning. Here he is with 2 outs in the 8th.
So who can forget what Lucroy did against Aroldis Chapman back on the 16th of August, that walk-off home run here in this ballpark. He bats for Maldonado with the bases loaded, 2 out. Hardy there.
Well, you know, Aroldis Chapman remembers that matchup. You know, Jonathan Lucroy remembers that matchup.
2 for 10 this year as a pinch hitter for Lucroy.
As I remember, it was a breaking ball. If you don't remember, let's show it to you right now. It was a hanging slider. Lucroy sends it into the night. A walk-off home run for the Brewers. And that was a stunner. So in this at-bat against Lucroy, Chapman has kept the fastball on him, and I would imagine that's what he's going to see.
Since that blown save, he has saved 5 games and won 1. Fastball there, swing and a miss. Ball gets away. Runner coming home. They throw to first and get the out there to retire the side. Mesoraco did a good job of hustling after that ball. Got it to Votto just in the nick of time. Strikeout of Jonathan Lucroy, the pinch hitter, in the bottom of the 8th inning. And then what about the quick reaction by Devin Mesoraco? That's our John Morrell hot dog play of the game.
How about we call it the John Morrell hustle hot dog play of the game? That ball didn't go all the way to the fence. It did get away. It was a 100-mile-an-hour fastball that just hit off the glove of Mesoraco. But he had to jump on that in a hurry. With 2 outs, the run does not score. Well, they'll be back at it, both of those guys. Aroldis Chapman and Devin Mesoraco. Johnny Cueto sitting in between them. Cueto had a side session today, a bullpen session today. Speculation leads to that he may be the starting pitcher when the Reds head up in Houston on Monday.
Well, they have two TBAs listed.
Right.
For Monday and Tuesday.
Could be Tuesday, probably would be the day for him then.
That would be the day that Tony Cingrani would have been the starter. Because of the day off Thursday, they could potentially move Mike Leake up. We'll see what they do. Take a look at our Nissan drive of the game as Votto bats here. Then off the bat of Votto, that monster shot he hit in the 6th inning, his 23rd of the year. Our Nissan drive of the game.
That ball went 470 feet, which, to put it in perspective, is the 4th longest home run ever hit at Miller Park.
And as you mentioned at the time, Joey putting a little body English on that ball. Get way up there near the top of the foul pole. All sorts of defensive changes for Milwaukee after the bottom of the 8th inning. A couple of the pinch hitters staying in the game as Votto draws the walk. Jonathan Lucroy, who pinch hit for Maldonado, stays in the game. He's behind the plate. There's Halton at first base. He pinch hit. He stays in the game. Jeff Bianchi moves from third. He's over at second base. Here's Halton. Bianchi moves to second base. Betancourt moves from first to third. So only Gene Segura, there's Betancourt. Only Gene Segura, who started at short, is still in the same spot on the Brewers infield. Michael Gonzalez, the new pitcher. Walk to get it started to Votto. Jay Bruce 0 for 3. Now 1 for his last 18. Time to get him back in on the fun here. Jay not having the best year of his career against lefties, but still a pretty good year. .250 with 10 home runs against lefties. Votto going. Ground ball to first. Halton gets it out. Votto rounded the bag a long way and then stopped and went back to second base. And the end result of that play is going to be a double play.
Now they're going to call, I believe, catcher's interference on the entire play.
On Lucroy.
On Lucroy. Angel Hernandez came out right away in the middle of the play. So the Reds saved themselves an embarrassment of another running into and out on the base paths. Lucroy pulls his glove back. That's a reaction immediately that
you saw Bruce react as well. Catcher's interference puts Bruce on. It'll go down as an E2. No at bat for Bruce, and it moves the runner Votto down to second base. So from a double play ball to 2 on, nobody out.
Actually, in a play like that, the offensive team has a choice of what's going to happen, and obviously you're going to take the choice of awarding Bruce first base and saving Joey Votto from running into and out on the base paths.
So meanwhile, a pitching change. Burke Badenhop will enter the game. Michael Gonzalez out. And we'll step aside and be back with more in a moment. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio has been brought to you by Chevy. Stop into your Tri-State Chevy dealer today and check out their full line of fuel-efficient vehicles. Fun being had here at Miller Park in Milwaukee and the area surrounding the ballpark. Roof has been open all afternoon. Going all Reds way today. They lead 7-3 here in the top of the 9th inning.
New pitcher on will be the former Marlin, Burke Badenhop.
Oh, well, boy, those expanded rosters and the options it gives managers nowadays. This is the 5th pitcher in the last 2+ innings for the Brewers. 5.
There's always a lot of talk at this time of year as Ludwig steps in there to bat. Not so much about the expansion of rosters and the calling of players, but the number of players that should be active for each game come September 1 through the end of the year. Larger than 25, but less than 40. I've heard 28. I've heard 30 as an optimum number. Give you a couple extra bench players, a couple of extra pitchers. Care to weigh in on that?
Well, they're probably not going to ask my opinion on that,
but I am.
Well, if you're going to bring a kid up from the minor leagues, you want him to have a chance of being in the ball game, unless you think just hanging around big leaguers is going to make him a better ball player. Now, how much they'll play, I don't know. I mean, on a lot of ball clubs, the extra guys don't play much anyway. I mean, really, when you come down to it, when you're in the pennant race, you're going to be more and more likely to stick with your regular guys than you ever have been before.
Yes.
Now, if you have an extra player or an extra pitcher, a pinch runner like Billy Hamilton, could be a game changer. But rarely do you call up a kid from the minor leagues who's going to have a major impact.
Ludwig chased that ball and struck out.
Well, Badenhop is in there to exactly get the right-handers out with that breaking ball of his. It's kind of a frisbee type pitch. It just keeps biting away from him.
Michael Gonzalez started the inning, walked Votto. Bruce reached on catcher's interference, which, if you're scoring along, goes as an error on Lucroy, and no at bat for Jay Bruce. And as Chris mentioned, the Reds have the option of taking the play as to how it happens or the catcher's interference. And when that ended up being a double play, they took the catcher's interference. So Votto safely still at second, Bruce at first. Badenhop came on, struck out Ludwig, now gets Frazier. 7-3 Reds, 9th inning. Chapman, meanwhile, came on, retired the lone batter he faced in the 8th as the tying run, Jonathan Lucroy. So even though it's a 4-run game now and could be blown open if the Reds get a big hit, he would still be in a safe situation when he takes the mound again in the 9th inning. If he takes the mound in the 9th inning, depending on the score. Today marking only the 2nd time all year that Dusty Baker has opted to go to Chapman prior to the 9th. And again, he did it in that game back on August the 21st against Arizona. First career 2-inning outing for Chapman. And he does it here today. If he goes back out there, he would get an inning and a third worth of total work.
Well, ever since Chapman has had those 9 days off, he has been so impressive, maybe throwing the best baseball of his life. Routinely hitting 100 miles an hour plus. In that Cardinal series, he was working at 102, 103.
Which has not been the norm for him when he'd had extended periods off. Flare into right by Frazier. That's the second one he's picked up like that today. Runner coming to the plate. The throw, the tag, no slide. Votto is out.
Well, he looked around immediately to Zach Cozart as to say, why didn't you tell me to slide? But again, as you come around third base, at some point you have to look up and try to locate where the baseball is. He's been trying to get himself thrown out on the base pass all inning. There he looks at Cozart saying, hey, how come you didn't tell me to slide right there? But, you know, the old saying, when in doubt, slide.
Well, he didn't, and he's out 9-2. Aoki gets the assist. Tag applied by Lucroy. Smash up the middle. Kozar's ball cut off nicely by Bianchi playing second base. And they throw to first. And the Reds, through all that, do not add to their lead. Miller Lite. Let's go way back to the second inning. Sun was shining down on the field. Chu launches this ball to center, out of the reach of Carlos Gomez. Home run number 21 for Shin-Soo Chu. That made it 4-0 Reds in the top of number 2. That's our Miller time moment of the game. Chu has scored 3 times today, driven in 3. He's at 21 homers, 51 RBIs on the year, and Aroldis Chapman looking for save number 36. They'll face a pinch hitter for Badenhop. Caleb Gindel will pinch hit for Badenhop, then the top of the order. 7-3 Reds. Gindel hitting .243 with 3 home runs. Off the bench, 2 for 14. Very late there. 1-2. Blows him away on 4 pitches. The pinch hitter Gindel taken care of, and out number 1. Now it's top of the order, and Aoki 0 for 3 in the game with a walk. 2 for 4 lifetime against Chapman. Reds trying to close out this Saturday afternoon game against the Brewers. Set things up for the rubber match tomorrow.
2-2. Now we got that second wave of sunlight, sort of a checkerboard coming in from beyond the first base side. We were all in shadows for a while. Now it's creeping back over.
I mean, 101's hard enough to hit anyway, right? Under the most ideal conditions.
Look at that look right there. Tough. Aoki appeared to be bailing on that pitch. Took it for ball 3. Well, first of all, I'd never go up there.
I think the Mesoraco's got a tough job of just being able to catch the baseball.
3-2 walk from Chapman puts Aoki aboard here in the 9th inning. 7 walks by Reds pitchers today. Atypical of how they normally work. Came into this game second fewest walks in the National League from their pitching staff. That's Gene Segura.
I think what Dusty Baker would love to see here is that Aroldis Chapman dispose of the Brewers quickly and keep his pitch count down. There's not a day off until Thursday of next week, so you're hoping that he doesn't wear himself out too much, so you're able to use him tomorrow if necessary, and then Monday if necessary. And if you have a 30-pitch outing or a 35-pitch outing, you're going to probably shorten that by a day.
Aoki took second on defensive indifference, and now Chapman having a heck of a time getting the ball over the plate. One way inside, one way up and outside here to Segura. Leadoff strikeout, then a walk. Segura today 0 for 4. Now ball 3.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to take something off the ball and kind of aim it in there. I mean, you aim it at 96, but by not being aggressive, he's getting himself out of his normal delivery. I'm not so sure Aroldis Chapman knows how to throw the ball at 3/4 effort.
He's in danger of giving the Brewers a little life here in the 9th inning. 3-1. Halton is on deck. Greg Reynolds is up and throwing in the Reds bullpen.
Getting some throwing in.
3-2. And ball 4. So back-to-back walks by Chapman will bring Brian Price out of the dugout. Third base side, pitching coach of the Reds. Sean Halton, who entered the game as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning for Jeanette, flied out, stayed in the game at first base, will be the batter, right-handed hitter. Brian doing all the talking out there. There's Reynolds throwing in the bullpen.
I got to believe that Reynolds is simply getting some throwing in. They wanted to hold him off until late in the ball game, and I doubt very much that Reynolds would be called on even if the Reds did get into a jam here and had to, for some reason, go get Aroldis Chapman.
Chapman came on in a tight situation in the 8th inning with the bases loaded, 2 out. Went right at Jonathan Lucroy and struck him out. Gets the strikeout of Gindel to start this inning, and then back-to-back walks. Runners going, they let them go.
Well, you want those strikes right here, which you really want to avoid if possible, because the Brewers are within slam range. Is giving up a walk right here to Halton, and then having Chris Davis come up with the bases loaded, the ability to tie the game up.
Halton chases a ball and doesn't get it. 0-2.
And he chases another one. Swings and misses. Strike 3. So Halton helps out Chapman and the Reds. Chasing a couple out of the strike zone.
Now Chapman has come in and recorded 3 outs. Every one of the outs by strikeout.
Now it's Chris Davis not in slam range in the 7-3 game. He's 1 for 3 with a walk. Tries to hold up and could not. That's a strike. Davis has faced Chapman one time and he was hit by a pitch. Second and third, 2 out. 7-3 Reds, bottom of the 9th. Strike 2. Triple digits on that one. Carlos Gomez swings a bat near the on-deck area. 2 walks have given the Brewers the base runners they have here in the bottom of the 9th. Strike 3 call. Davis rung up. Chapman gets the save. Reds win here on this Saturday, September the 14th, and they even this series at 1 game apiece. A 7-3 hard-fought win over the Brewers.
Yeah, it really was a hard-fought win. It looked like the Reds are going to run away with this one early on when they jumped out to a 4-run lead, but the Brewers came back. Overall, a good outing by Homer Bailey. He went 7 innings of 3-run baseball. And the Reds bullpen, a little extra offense, and they finally get a win here in Milwaukee. Dusty Baker, his pregame meeting with his starting 8. He's got to be happy about the results today.
7-3 the final. The Reds a winner. The rubber game of this series comes up tomorrow. Right now, Reds Live postgame presented by King's Honda and Jim Day next.